All right.
Rabble, 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 rabble.
Order.
Order. Rabble, rabble, rabble. Order. Rabble, rabble. All right. This Star Trek fan theory debate will now come to order. Let me now present our master debaters, Victor and Mike. Yeah. Victor, please make your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. I am here today to propose to you my fan theory, based on the fact that while Star Trek First Contact is generally considered the greatest, most popular, highest rated, bestest Star Trek movie in the history of Star Trek movies to this date, I submit to you that the writing was crap. The plot was crap. It is only by the acting prowess of one Patrick Stewart and Alice Krige that the movie was made palpitable, made it okay.
Palpatable.
Yes, exactly. However, with my fan theory today, my intent is to fix the mistakes that were created by introducing the Borg Queen. With my fan theory, we'll wrap it up nicely in a nice little bow and make it acceptable. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you for your statement, master debater. Debater 2, Tiger Mike, please present, or please make your opening statement.
What if we lived in a world where the Dominion War never happened? Now, as viewers, that would be tragic because the Dominion War showed us a lot and put us very deep into the lore of the Star Trek universe. However, it would not have happened but for one man, Benjamin Lafayette Sisko.
Objection!
If Benjamin Sisko did not exist and was not created by the prophets, the Dominion War never would have happened. This I intend to prove to you. And of course, as soon as I finish that, the heater kicks off. But the race has just begun.
All right, Victor, make your case.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to submit for the record that my opponent, Tiger Mike, specifically stated that the AI would take care of the noise problem in the background. I submit to you that AI is at the core of the problem with my fan theory.
This was before AI slop was even created.
Hey, it's what I have the I am speaking. I have
Master debater. One moment. What does AI editing have to do with your own fan theory, and why are you arguing that your own theory has a problem?
Thank you, Your Honor.
I was just trying to be a dick, Your Honor. Nothing. It has absolutely nothing to do with my case. I just wanted to throw something in Tiger Mike's face. Now then, Star Trek First Contact was only saved as a movie. It had horrible writing. The plot was despicable. There are so many plot holes and inconsistencies that I will not go into at this moment. I will instead focus on the one glaring, massive elephant in the room error that Star Trek First Contact made, and that is the introduction of the Borg Queen. Prior to this, the Borg were this omnipresent, cosmic level space horror, inhuman menace that could not be stopped. By introducing the Borg Queen, you give the Borg human qualities. But the Borg are supposed to be better than humans. They are supposed to be upgraded. It is their goal, their mission statement, basically, is to assimilate other races and technology to improve their species, the species of the Borg overall. By having a queen with emotions and greed and ego and jealousy, this completely destroys the concept of the Borg. And only by the only reason it is acceptable and continued to be used in further Star Trek things such as Voyager and Picard and other stuff. Alice Krige was just an excellent actress. She what is it? Stuck the landing, they say, when you do good, or is that no?
Yes.
She kicked ass. So, my theory is that the Borg went through a significant change after the events of TNG Season 5, Episode 23, I, Borg. This was when we were introduced to the character of Hugh. Hugh was rescued by the Enterprise crew. He became friends with Geordi because Geordi has a thing for making friends with artificial life forms, and he gained a sense of individuality. The Borg were not seen at the end of that episode. They returned Hugh to the collective. The Borg were not seen again until Season 6, Episode 26, the season finale of Season 6, by the way, episode titled Descent, in which we discover Lore. Data's brother, Lore, is in command of a group of Borg. We find out in this episode, and I believe it's in part 2, Hugh makes an appearance and says that with Hugh's newfound sense of individuality from interacting with the crew of the Enterprise, when he returned to the collective, it massively, that notion spread throughout the collective and caused mass disruptions. And I believe in this episode, we even see some Borg who are still suffering the effects of that concept. Now, here's where my fan theory begins. I theorize that... Actually, wait, there's one more thing. Lore states that he found these group of Borg that were all cattywampus and brought order to them, and he became their leader. Now, this is where my fan theory begins. I theorize that when Hugh was sent back to the collective, over time, the collective started to disassemble, and in order to save itself, the collective severed off whole cubes and whole nodes or whatever you call them, and just like shut them down, like pulling the plug on a server in a server farm, so they wouldn't have to deal with it anymore to stop this individuality virus from spreading. So that was contained. I mean, it had to be, because otherwise, the Borg in the Delta Quadrant would be suffering the same thing. So they must have cut it off somehow and contained it. So that's what happened. And from there, the Borg learned that individuality is their Achilles heel, if you will. So in order to adapt, because that's what the Borg do, they adapt, they reorganize their entire collective into a hierarchical structure. And that is where the Queen came from. Lore was the inspiration for the Queen, because the collective saw what Lore did. He brought order to the chaos, and they adopted that strategy, and individuality became both, instead of becoming a weakness to the Borg made it a strength. They flipped it around. They redefined it. Borg Queen is a dumb idea, but it is made into a good idea. And I say, if I had my way, I would have made Star Trek First Contact the villain. I would have made Lore the villain. They would have found Lore there instead of the Borg Queen. And that would have gotten rid of the weird, unnecessary sex scene. Hey, silence.
Objection.
I object. I object. I have the stand, sir. I am making my... I will not be belittled by a man who looks like the bastard child of the Monopoly guy.
Order, please refrain from personal insults, at least until the cross-examination.
As I was saying before I was rudely interrupted by a man with Satan's goatee over here.
You're just jealous.
To take care, debater, I just said avoid the insults, at least until the cross-examination.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I withdraw my statement from the record. Now then, So I believe the movie would have been better if Lore was the leader of the Borg and the main villain in Star Trek First Contact. This would have deprived us of a great performance of Alice Krige, but we would have gotten rid of that cringy, weird sex scene that was completely unnecessary and just really fucking weird.
So border.
There we go. That is my case. I yield the bench. Do we have a bench? The stand, the podium. I'm done.
Excellent. Master Debater 2, aka Tiger Mike, please approach and present your case.
Thank you, your cuteness. Now, I can't wait until the cross-examination. Can I just say, this is going to be fun. I don't want to be, I will honor the honors rule of not being insulting and just dive right in here. So, what do you know about Benjamin Sisko? Well, what I know is that he is the emissary to the prophets of Bajor because they created him by going to a certain point in time, enticing his father into having a child, and then shortly after ditching the person that they had inhabited to make sure that Benjamin Sisko was born, because they could see that if they veered the path of the timeline a little bit and created Benjamin Sisko, that he would be able to be their savior. And basically make it so the Pa Wraiths could be exposed by Kai Wynn and Gul Dukat, and then thus encapsulated forever once the book of the Pa Wraith, the
Costamogen?
The Costamogen.
Yeah, the book of the Costamogens.
Let the record show that Tiger Mike was unaware of the book that's key to his argument.
I'm so aware of it, but hey, ADHD makes it so not every word is available at every moment that you would like to use it. The Costamogen was the key to the Pa Wraiths being unleashed, and the prophets knew that by creating Benjamin Sisko, all of these things would happen in such a way that the Pa Wraiths would then be trapped and locked away forever, which is a generally good outcome.
I blow my nose at you, sir. I blow my nose.
Without Benjamin Sisko, there would never have been a Dominion War, and the Federation would not have lost what we have to assume is hundreds of thousands of lives, if not millions of lives, in the onslaught that came from the Dominion. The proof in the pudding, there's many other factors that lead to this conclusion, but the proof really is the episode The Visitor, which I believe is season 4, episode 2, where Ben Sisko is removed from the timeline because he becomes tethered through subspace to Jake as they're in engineering, and there's an inversion of the wormhole, and something goes haywire, and technobabble later, all of a sudden Ben Sisko they think is dead, and over the years he continues to appear to Jake for very short periods of time. And in this future, it is very clear that the Dominion War never happened, where the Federation is forced to abandon Deep Space Nine because the Klingons move in, because they've made a pact with the Bajorans, basically, or they've conquered them. I'm not sure that we're exactly clear on if it was a military forced decision by the Klingons or if Bajor actually asked the Federation to leave willingly. But also I know that the disappearance of Ben Sisko had a big effect on those proceedings. But also over time, it's very clear throughout that episode that the Dominion War never happened. Also, when we look at the Next Generation's final episode, All Good Things, then we see that in that potential future, there is really no mention of the effects of the Dominion War, and there's a much fewer shown effects of the Dominion War and the Enterprise D still exist, which I know is a Generations movie occurrence, but the future timeline, which was essentially created by Q, had nothing to consider Benjamin Sisko. Going back to the Visitor, we know that once he is put back in the timeline and everything is set right, for Jake anyway, then the rest of Deep Space Nine continues forward. If the Dominion War didn't happen, Romulans, Klingons, Federation citizens, so many lives would have been saved. Was it worth the Pa Wraiths being locked away forever by the prophets just so, and which enables this war to happen? Was it worth that the prophets being able to do what they want? I don't know. I put it to you, the viewers, whether or not they were justified in this action that killed millions of Alpha Quadrant residents. I don't know if it was worth it. I think we should ask the prophets. I rest my case.
All right. Begin cross-examination.
All right. Do you want to
Who
flip a
gets
coin
to
to decide
start?
who gets to go first?
We should
Oh,
flip a
I was
coin.
thinking Klingon style. Yeah, you both cross-examine each other
I have a
simultaneously.
coin. It is a quarter. I will do the honorable thing and let Victor call it in the
Okay.
air.
All right.
Flipping.
Tails.
It is heads.
Objection!
I can show you.
That's fine. I will do the honorable thing and let him have his way, even though it's sus. Let the record show. Let the record show the Tails is sus. I proclaim Tails be
I'm an
sus.
honorable warrior, and I
so
would
noted.
never. All right. So
Hang on for a second. I request a brief recess, Your Honor. My dog knocked over her water dish. I'll be right back.
no, you're giving me time to smoke more marijuana. This is dangerous for my case.
All right. What?
I just sat on my notes. Okay. My apologies to the court. I take full responsibility for my dog's actions.
You gave me more time to smoke, which is probably exactly what your strategy was.
Yeah, see, I have a 4D chess strategy going on here to let Tiger Mike fall on his own cannabis-ridden sword.
But what you don't know is that it is a double-edged sword, and I get more inventive, creative, and interesting.
We
As I
shall
go.
see, sir. So you think.
All right.
So you
So-
flip the coin,
Tiger
so
Mike.
you get to decide which one of us goes first. Mike.
Well, I'm going first. Because, no, that's so.
I am ready.
First, I must say that you think that Lore would be the cause of the creation of the Queen.
That is correct.
Pish posh. Pish
Posh.
fucking posh, bro. That is ridiculous. So here is how I would interpret the canon events of what the show shows us, right? I don't care about any comics. I don't care about V'ger and your fucking V'ger theories. Get the fuck out of here with the
Objection,
V'ger
Your Honor.
theories.
V'ger theories is the
I-
hope of this
I have the
podcast.
floor. I reserve the floor.
All right. Continue, Tiger Mike.
So, in the first encounter with the cube that Q flung the Enterprise into the Delta Quadrant to meet, the Borg have no seeming sense of anything besides their collective function.
That is
And
correct.
it does seem that there is a slight difference between the Borg that we see then and even the Borg that we see when the Enterprise meets them in Best of Both Worlds. Because in the Best of Both Worlds, they have a very specific mission which they start out with. And that mission is to assimilate one individual who is a captain who has the knowledge that they know they need to assimilate the species quickly, and who has the authority for people to be like, oh shit, they got that motherfucker and we're all fucked. So
Well,
they
it is also
basically-
stated that they wanted Picard so they would get the Starfleet command codes to the defense grid of Earth and all that shit. So there was more.
I believe Tiger Mike alluded to that.
Okay.
That is, yeah, that's the getting the captain part of it. But it could have
Yes.
been any captain. And certainly they had already assimilated captains out in, like, they had not first, the best of both worlds was not the second encounter that the Federation had with the Borg. If we're going by Enterprise, which I am fine to throw the fuck out, but if we're including the events of Enterprise, then it would have at least been the third encounter with humans that the Borg had had. Now, I think that because this theory involves first contact, that we should not consider the Borg from Enterprise because they are Borg from first contact, right? So
Exactly. They are the same Borg. Yes.
so we'll just isolate them and say, at the very least, the Federation had knowledge about the Borg because that's where the Hansons went out searching for. So it does not work in the timeline, but we can say after the Enterprise was flung out and reported back, then the Federation was like, oh shit, we need to maybe investigate these fuckers. The Hansons are out there investigating a species like this, right? So anyway, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole necessarily, but I need another sip of water because marijuana will give you dry mouth, folks. So always have water.
Hey, you know, cross-examination is supposed to be you're asking me questions here. So, like, do you have a question, sir?
Other than how absurd you think it is. So why, here's a question. Why do you not think that either there had to be a specific intelligence in a somewhat individualistic sense to want to get Picard specifically, because they did want Jean-Luc Picard specifically?
Yes.
And why do you not think that it was the influence of Picard who, in First Contact, says to the Queen, you were there the whole time? And I think that was more of a virtual thing than a physical thing.
Yes.
Because the Queen certainly was not there. But so the Queen already existed way before they encountered Lore.
No, I say no.
The Queen would have already existed.
Well, my fan theory overwrites this. My fan theory that I want to be solidified into canon is that scene in First Contact where he remembered the Queen, that was more of a conceptual thing. She didn't have an actual physical form. Seeing as how the Borg is a collective consciousness, he was interpreting that and manifesting her in a physical form. So it's not to be taken literally, basically, is what I'm saying.
Inadequate answer. For the sake of brevity, I do understand your response and I will move on. Why do you believe that this is the first time the Borg had encountered an individualistic sort of virus, if you will, with Hugh? Because it very much seems like, if any, a very small percentage of the collective was affected by Hugh. Even it could have been just that one ship.
Yes, and that is further evidence of my point, is that the collective severed off all contact. They cut their connections with Hugh's cube. It may have spread to more cubes, or it could have been contained just to one. Doesn't matter. All we know
it wasn't a cube. It was a fucking weird.
Well, no.
From the
The funky shaped badass Borg ship was something that was built after Lore went and rescued the rogue drones that had been.
Do we have any corroborating evidence for this?
Do you have any evidence that is not? Was that ship ever seen again?
It was a Borg ship.
It was a Borg ship, but it was unlike any Borg ship ever seen before, hitherto, or since.
And either way,
a new crazy ship.
Okay, yeah, move it along, gentlemen. Either way, I fail to see how the shape of the rogue Borg ship is relevant to the fan theory.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not about the ship being any crazy kind of shape. I think that there's no there shouldn't be a debate on whether it was a collective ship or not. I think it was fine to be a collective ship. They don't all have to be perfectly shaped. Maybe it was a century or two old. It took a while for it to get out there.
Sure.
All right,
Fine.
here's a question for you. Was there an evolution of the transwarp network as this was going on?
I
In
fail to
between
see
when
the
Borg
relevance.
because it ages that ship. If the
Relativity.
Borg didn't have transwarp technology, then it would make a lot more sense as to why that ship wasn't what we would consider an ordinary Borg cube, because it was made a lot longer ago, and it could have been Borg that were outdated.
Our judge here just said the shape of the ship has no relevance to my theory.
Well, it's not about the shape of the ship. It's about
How you
whether
use
the
it?
ship was made pre or post lore.
Okay, I don't
The
see
ship
how
is
that's
irrelevant.
relevant either. The fan theory is that lore, that because of lore,
The
that
queen
lore was
exists.
the cause of the Borg Queen.
Of the existence of the Borg Queen. Yes. Exactly. I should amend it today to say that, I mean, you could say that more specifically it was Hugh who set these actions in motions, but then again, you know, if we keep on going down that path, it's the fault of two sperm and an egg that somewhere millions of years back that
Or was it the chicken that laid them?
Exactly. See, well, yeah. But for the sake of argument, I will just say that it is lore. His intervention is the main cause that spawned the concept of the queen, which, yes, as I said, individuality is both the Achilles heel and their strength. The Borg adapted.
Yeah. Okay, so I have some questions to follow up on this.
Well, that's what the Inquisition's for.
Pardon me, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
No,
I don't mean to. I don't presume to put you out of order, Your Honor.
Well, we just have cross-examination.
You're correct.
All right.
I
Are there
thought
any
that-
further questions, Tiger Mike? Would you like to know the shape of any other of the ships in the fleet? Or which...
So I want to know why you're hating on Data getting laid.
I think it's kind of unnecessary, if I may say.
I don't think it was
Danny can get
necessary
laid
for
all
him
he
to
wants.
change
It doesn't need to
Kashiyar.
take up time in the movie theater when I'm trying to watch a movie about epic space battles. I don't care about Data's cock.
Well, I mean, we didn't get to see Data's cock. It's not like there was.
It
a
was
full-on
heavily
sex
implied.
scene.
Yeah, he is
Of
fully
course,
functional.
there it was implied, but I'm just wondering why you hate Data so much to think that he doesn't deserve.
Did
to
I
be laid.
say that I hate Data? I never said I hate Data.
So
This is
why not let him-
blasphemy.
Why
Anderson.
not let him get his dick wet?
He can get his dick wet however he wants. He's got a whole. Data can go to Ryza for.
I believe I believe Victor was only making the point that that he didn't want the Data getting laid subplot to take up valuable screen time.
Because it was a
How
creepy
much
H.R.
worse
Geiger
would it
ass
have been?
fucking weird ass with tentacles and probes and whatnot that belonged
How
in
much
anime.
worse would it have been if it was lore? Because all those Game of Thrones fans out there would have loved that shit.
They would have loved it, sure, but
I wouldn't have.
yeah, no, exactly. It would have been so much worse. But
Which is
if we-
why it was better that it was a
I'm
Borg
saying-
queen.
Oh, but at no point did I say that a sex scene with Data was necessary at any point. So I say we could do without it. This is a benefit of my fan theory being made canon, will be that we didn't need to have that sex scene at all.
And why is all of this not happening in the Nexus? That's my next question. Because everything after Generations, when it has to do with Jean-Luc Picard, is happening in the Nexus. Now,
That is a completely different fan theory,
You're
sir.
introducing yet another fan theory here. If you had wanted to introduce that fan theory, you should have said that in your
I
opening
have many
statement.
fan theories.
Thank you,
I'd
Your
like to
Honor.
introduce. I wasn't. I see. I wasn't actually sure if we were coming in with real theories or fan theories, because I distinguish Ben Sisko being the linchpin to the Dominion War. That's a provable theory. I don't have to go outside to make up any loopy-loo to say that that's why that happened.
Are there any further questions?
See, you want to like throw insults at me, and I'm just gonna dunk in your face.
That is a legitimate strategy.
Substance is everything. Okay. Realistically, though, I think that if we were to have seen Lore's influence on the collective, he found those Borg post disconnection.
Correct.
They were never reassimilated again. They were actually taken in to be Federation citizens, which was alluded to in the beginning of the Picard series when we go back and find Q. So all of those Borg were Federation citizens and were never returned to the collective.
But there's no reason to assume that the collective itself wouldn't have knowledge of these events, studying them while still disconnected.
That's not how the Borg goes through things. They don't study shit. They assimilate it.
That is the whole reason.
So the only way that they would get the knowledge of that, and I think it's plausible, is to have assimilated a Starfleet officer who had knowledge of those events. I think that's fine, but that is not enough for them to change their tactics. These motherfuckers throw cubes at problems readily, like to lose them. And you want to say that because some motherfuckers who are already disconnected all of a sudden, like, got their shit rocked by an android, that they're going to back up and, oh, hey, we got to put a queen in charge. That'll make it work. Like, come on, dude. What say you to that?
I really don't know what the fuck you just said.
That was a 3-point dunk.
I fail to see the relevance.
The relevance is that there's no reason to associate lore with why the Borg Queen came to exist, because the Borg were not connected to the collective. None of those Borg's experiences had anything to do with lore. He came in after the fact when they were totally disconnected from the collective and said, hey, I will organize you guys because I'm way fucking smarter than you. And while that was true because he's a fucking Sun model android, like, he's also a fucking sociopath. So it didn't really work out that well for him.
There are a multitude of possibilities of how the Borg collective as a whole could have gotten knowledge of the events that transpired after Hugh's cube was severed and Lore's interference. Take a pick. It could have been anything.
That's
I think so. This was a huge event that could have. The Hugh's presence could have disrupted the collective as a whole had they not acted and cut them off. So the Borg saw this as a threat. It was a threat. Yes, but then they had to realize they had to prevent something like this from ever happening again, because it could have destroyed the collective as a whole. And the Queen.
It happens like,
well, in that case, it sounds like your fan theory is that Hugh, with his individuality, prompted the creation of the Borg Queen, rather than Lore taking over this disconnected cube prompted the creation of the Borg.
If I may, Your Honor, Hugh never returns to the collective either.
Yeah, indeed. Well, hang on. Hugh gets rescued. He gets plugged in to a cell in this cube. Whether it's his original vessel or not, I don't know. We just know that he was in a Borg scout ship that crashed on, I can't remember the name of the planet.
Whatever random planet that was.
But, he gets rescued. Then he gets plugged back into the collective. His individuality begins to infect the collective. At that point, the collective cuts off the cube that he's on. After that, Lore finds that cube adrift with these newly individual Borg who, by his own words, can't even navigate their own vessel.
Yes.
So, it sounds to me like you're retroactively I'm not sure if it's even your intent, but it sounds like you're arguing that Hugh's individuality infecting the collective prompted the collective to create the Borg Queen, rather than Lore having rescued this disconnected cube. Because as Mike, I think, pointed out very well, how would the Borg be aware of Lore's rescuing this disconnected cube? Why would they care about that after the
Yeah.
disconnect?
Your Honor, if you will, if I may. If I may. Now,
You may.
I would also like to April, but if I may. So you stated that, yes, Hugh prompted the creation of the Queen. I think that's, yeah, same thing as well. But what happened was Hugh showed the collective that they have a weakness, and cutting him off, they had to basically, it's like if my pinky were to get infected, I have to chop it off, right?
Right.
But then Lore comes along, and the collective is like in a panic now, saying that they have a huge weakness. If this happens again, it could disrupt they could lose another cube, because, I mean, a cube is still a significant loss. The collective is huge, but they can't just go throwing cubes away left and right, you know? So they would want to prevent this.
I'm not convinced of that. I mean, later in Voyager, now granted,
Matrix Zero, the Queen was ready to eliminate 90% of the fucking collective.
But still, it's logical that they would not want to have preventable losses.
That's logical. Yes.
So they identified this as a huge problem, this concept of individuality, and they needed to work on a solution on how to, it's like updating your antivirus. Like, how do we deal with this problem if it happens again? So the collective starts collectivizing, but they became aware somehow. I don't think it really matters how, but somehow they became aware of the events to where Lore intervened and brought order to the chaos. Because previously, the Borg were thinking that, if this happens again, we have to cut them off completely, and we just lose them and cut it off as a loss. But with Lore's intervention, that showed the collective that it doesn't have to be a loss, that there is another way, and they started adapting based on Lore's influence.
So your contention then is that it's only because of Lore's intervention that they realized that they can turn individuality from
into a strength,
paralyzing virus into a strength.
If they have just certain individuals, queens, that control nodes or whatever you want to call them, sections of the collective, that way they have like interconnecting independent cells that can operate still in a collective towards their greater evil goals.
Right? Interesting.
Gosh.
If there
are such a leap to bring Lore.
If there are no further questions from Tiger Mike, I would
further questions. I will pick this until the carcass is clean. Okay.
All right. Shall I call you Piranha Mike now?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Seriously.
More like Vulture Mike.
This tiger leaves nothing to spare. Enter Icheb. Okay. So Icheb and his species are a perfect example of why this doesn't really make sense. And then there's also the species that infected the vinculum, which Voyager later experienced, where it is quite obvious that the Borg are under attack by these kind of random pathogens, logic bombs, all sorts of the crazy things that we thought about that caused some of these things to happen. So it turned out that actually taking a Borg, disconnecting it, allowing it to get memories, which once they're disconnected from the collective, they could even remember who they are. Hugh was too young. He was probably raised in a maturation chamber, much like Seven of Nine was, and didn't really remember his childhood, so he didn't have much of a personality to start with. So he gets disconnected and affected by the Enterprise. This turns out to be slightly more effective, I guess you could say, but they still cut that piece off so quickly that to say, okay, well, what happened to this one group out of the probably thousands of times that this has happened in the collective's history, where they've been attacked by a species trying to eliminate their threat? with some sort of logic bomb or biological plague or cyber plague or whatever.
Is there a question here, sir?
My question is, why is lore so important to this? And why would you not use First Contact as a way that they finally built this king? They take data, they abduct data, they study data, and they start building a version out of him. And maybe they even dug up Sung himself because he was dead in a fucking lab just rotting away. So, or maybe he had an android that he fucking, or maybe his son came along and buried his fucking body. My point is, like, we could go way further if we want to just be willy-nilly with our fan theories here. But why is lore so important? Why is there no other cybernetic being in the galaxy?
It doesn't have to be cybernetic. It doesn't have to be lore specifically. Lore just happened to be the one who solved this problem, this major flaw, this exhaust port in the Death Star of the Collective.
There was a Borg Civil War in the episode.
Exactly. Yes. Lore showed the Collective that it was possible to recover these drones that they previously thought were unrecoverable, that they could still use them. And by researching that further, they came up with the concept to reorganize the Collective into a hierarchy with the Queen, with multiple queens. That's a further fan theory, yes.
So I would like to...
I have answered all your questions.
I would like to look into when 7 of 9 was disconnected and made that little triumvirate or quartet that she was a part of, because it feels like the Borg had ways to adapt for individuality. But I will yield the rest of the cross-examination.
I apologize for the interruption, Your Honor. I'm still getting used to daylight savings time and getting dark so early, and I do not want my seasonal affective disorder, depression, whatever, affecting my cross-examination. Now then, Tiger Mike, is it my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you are saying that Benjamin Sisko is the cause of the Dominion War?
I am.
That is you're saying. So you're saying that if Ben Sisko had either not gone to Starfleet Academy or had never been born, or if he had died at Wolf 359, you're saying the Dominion War would not have happened?
That is exactly what I am saying, sir.
To paraphrase my opponent's own words, posh pish. You say pish posh to me, I say posh pish to you, sir. Benjamin Sisko was the greatest asset the Federation ever had, for the record. Let the record show. Benjamin Sisko, need I say more, punched Q in the face. If
that does nothing for me.
Irrelevance.
Yeah.
I would just like to state for the record that he punched Q in the face.
May I make a statement?
Well, okay, since I guess...
retort?
You retort. Yes,
I'll allow it.
So, I, first of all, would like to say that I love Captain Benjamin Lafayette Sisko. I think he was a wonderful captain and a wonderful father, and certainly an asset to the Bajoran people in that he did not take advantage of the power that they bestowed upon him. I have no issues with the man Benjamin Sisko, but we can neither say that he was close to the best captain, nor can we say that he was never a hothead. There are many examples that we could cite that his hot-headedness got him into hot water. And so, while I would say that he is a great man and he was a great leader and a great captain, he was also an unintentional warmonger.
That is true. Yes, I agree.
First of all, when he goes into what happens after the Jem'Hadar blow up a Galaxy-class starship, they say, fuck off, don't cross this border. Don't even come into the Gamma Quadrant, right? What do? They go get a mothballed warship, bring it up to spec, give it a Romulan cloaking device, and send it into their territory to find their leaders.
I blow my nose at you, sir.
And what does that look like other than an assassination attempt? Oh no, we wanted to go, figure out how to have peace with these guys because we're sure if we just got a chance to talk to them that they'd come around. What kind of bullshit is that?
Objection, Your Honor. These are statements that my opponent should have made during his opening statement.
Well, you asked why Benjamin Sisko could have started a war. Or at least that's how I interpreted what you were saying.
If I may have my next question.
Yep. Continue questioning.
Okay. You stated that in Season 4, Episode 2, The Visitor, that we got a vision of what would happen if Benjamin Sisko... that is... When he went into the future, we saw that, Tony Todd... Jake turned into Tony Todd, right? And he met him in the future. And you're saying there was no Dominion War in that timeline?
There was no Dominion War as we know it. There may have been skirmishes, but here's the thing. The Federation was not part of an intergalactic war. The Klingons might have done several things with the Dominion, maybe even the Romulans, but the Federation withdrew. And as far as Jake knows, there was nothing to report about Deep Space Nine in the interim between when he left and returned.
Indeed. Nog said at one point in that potential future we saw that there hadn't been, that the Klingons hadn't said anything about Dominion activity on their side of the wormhole in a very long time. Nog even thought that perhaps one reason the Klingons were even letting Nog take the Defiant into the Gamma Quadrant was to test the Dominion. They would rather let the Federation send the Defiant as that canary into that coal mine than risk one of their own ships.
I don't remember that happening in this
That
episode.
is absolutely what happens. Nog mentions it. The implication is that the Klingons basically take over the Cardassian Union. The Klingons invade, that invasion goes through. This is right when that had started, right after The Way of the Warrior, when Worf comes into the Deep Space Nine scene. I'm pretty sure it's Way of the Warrior. That is the opening to Season 4. And this Klingon invasion into Cardassia happens. In The Visitor, Sisko disappears, and that invasion continues. We assume that they do not get to rescue or they essentially take over the Cardassian government, and they occupy Cardassian space as they have so many other territories.
It's a reasonable supposition. I'm not certain that I'm not completely certain that it's part of that time.
It is an assumption. I was just entering the assumption so that we have background on the area. In that the wormhole, they had basically blockaded the wormhole and said, nope, nobody's going through this thing because we don't want to antagonize the Dominion. We want everything to be kosher, and we're just going to leave this area status quo. And that is when they come back years later, when the wormhole is inverting again, or going through a subspace inversion, whatever, technobabble. And so Nog says that he thought the Klingons wanted them to test the waters, as it were, for a Dominion response. So that essentially confirms to us that there was no war, or at least no direct war with the Federation.
Very good argument, Tiger Mike.
Yeah, I know.
However, I must say that there is no evidence that, first of all, if I may say, in regards to Season 4, Episode 2, The Visitor, I don't remember the details, but I remember that episode because I fucking hated it. Because it is coming off the heels of one of the greatest season premieres ever, Season 4, Episode 1, Parts 1 and 2, The Way of the Warrior, where Worf gets introduced to Deep Space Nine as a permanent cast member. And we have one of the best battles in Star Trek history. The Klingons attacking the station. That was fucking awesome. And here I am as how old would I have been at the time? It was teenage Victor is watching all this awesome shit happening. And then I have to wait another 7 days for the next episode. And what do we get? We get Jake Sisko and his dad bonding. What
Tell me,
the
Victor,
fuck, dude?
do you eat your dessert before you eat your dinner?
Sometimes,
want
actually,
all
yes,
the
because I'm
sweet-
an adult and I can do that if I
You
want.
want all the sweets up front, or why not just have a little sweet and then have your main
I'm saying
course
after jerking
It
me off
shows
so
us
hard
the
in this
depth.
awesome ass fucking badass space battle episode to follow that up with Jake Sisko's heartbreak. What the
It
fuck?
shows us the depth and how
I
great Star
wanted more
Trek is at
torpedoes.
switching
I wanted
gears.
more Klingon fights. I wanted this.
I
one
mean, heck,
continuous.
got
Tony
it.
Todd even got an Emmy for his acting.
And we got it. When Worf and Dax have to go find the sword of Kahless, like, come on, dude. That it was a marvelous
way
Klingon
later.
episode.
That was way later.
It was
Yeah,
later that
I'm just saying season 4, episode 2 was crap at the time. The pacing was all off. We should have gotten a follow-up to because, like I said,
your
Teenage Victor is
dislike
watching
of the
this.
episode
It
has
no relevance
to
to
my
this argument, yes.
of it standing on its own 2 legs.
Glad we all agree, because I was going to bring this up.
Okay, very well. Very well. I have had my moment. Thank you. Now, in the episode All Good Things, you stated that there was no evidence of a Dominion war in the alternate future that Q had created.
I mean, I fully admit that there is no standing on the timeline that was there because it was essentially a Q influenced future timeline.
Now,
But
Your Honor, I
that
wish
was no
to say,
sign of the Dominion.
Your Honor, I wish to submit to the record that there is no evidence that the war took place one way or the other. However, there's more implications that the war did happen than not, because of the simple fact of the Enterprise D's badass upgrades with that kick-ass fucking spinal laser phaser cannon.
Yeah.
That thing
Well,
was fucking
I'll tell
cool.
you that was directly because of the aggression of the Klingons, which was mentioned in All Good Things.
Yes, but the Klingon, the skirmish between the Federation and the Klingons was part of the Dominion War.
When
That was
you
influenced because Martok was replaced with a changeling. This had already happened prior to the events of the next episode, the Visitor.
Yep.
So, I submit to you that while he may be correct that the Dominion War did not take place as we know it in Sisko's absence, the Dominion War would simply be delayed, and it would have happened later, and it would have been much, much worse because the Dominion was gathering up, and even as he said in the episode The Visitor, the Dominion allowing Federation ships through the wormhole. Because of Ben Sisko, the Federation got to explore the Gamma Quadrant all over the place eventually, But in this future, having the Federation blockaded off from the wormhole, that just means the Dominion is going to attack with greater numbers at a later date, and we're all doomed.
Well, that is one way of showcasing misunderstanding your enemy. The Dominion had no interest in going to war with the Alpha Quadrant. It was something they were completely willing to do, but it was not their goal. In fact, the changeling infiltrators did everything they could to destabilize, not for invasion, but to prevent invasion of the Gamma Quadrant. Everything that the Dominion is about is the founders protecting themselves. They've controlled not the entire Gamma Quadrant, just the area of the Gamma Quadrant that was within a reasonable sphere of influence to protect themselves. They don't want to go to war with people. They conquer through multiple tactics, and they are fortunate that most of the planets within their region were easy to conquer with a relatively small military. They then were preparing, I'm sure, a defense/invasion force in case they needed to use it. And again, the Dominion were completely prepared to go to war with the Alpha Quadrant, But going to war with a power on the other side of the galaxy when your biggest issue is the paranoia about the safety and longevity of your species is counterintuitive, because what ended up happening was they pissed off a power that had enough genetic manipulation knowledge to give them a virus which was killing their entire species. So it's never preferable to go to war when you could, in fact, stay at Cold War or just create a border like a neutral zone. And the Federation had always been incredibly respectful. What did Picard say when he went to any world that didn't want them? We'll leave willingly. We'll get right out of here. We have no interest in forcing our presence here. There were treaties signed in the Alpha Quadrant about expanding into other territories. And while it was a scientific and resource gathering boon, it was by no means something that Starfleet felt or the Federation felt had to move forward. It was a great opportunity. That was it. But if there's a power there that says, yo, you're stepping on our doorstep and we're not having it. So if you want to prevent us from going to war with you, step off. The Federation is certainly going to listen to that, regardless of a Klingon border. Because they're just like, yeah, guys, let's all not fuck with these guys so we can not go to war. And that's exactly what would have happened if Sisko weren't in the picture.
Well, that certainly is a lot of words.
Yeah, and when you
Do
actually
you
listen
object
to
to any
them-
of those words? Do you have questions about any of those words?
I simply wish to reaffirmate my position that the Dominion War would have happened eventually. And it would have been much, much worse if it not been for Benjamin Sisko, that the net losses would have been greater. I yield the floor. I yield the floor.
So, you two have made your cases. You've cross-examined each other. Yeah. Now, let me ask a few questions. All right. I guess because it's fresher on my mind right now. Tie your mic. Let me ask you slash present some potential ideas of my own that are related to this. So you argued that after 2 years of ships coming through the wormhole from the Alpha Quadrant to the Gamma Quadrant, the Dominion finally said, no, and enough of that. Will no longer stand by and allow ships from your side to violate our territory. We know that very soon after that, they began replacing certain people in key positions, like General Martok, with changelings. And then those changelings began to sow chaos. Your position was that those changeling infiltrators sowed chaos in order to prevent the Alpha Quadrant powers from invading the Dominion, rather than weakening the Alpha Quadrant powers so that the Dominion could conquer them. Am I correct in understanding that?
That would be accurate, yes. I can expand on that if you would like.
Please don't.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I think I got the idea. Where would I like naively, I would have expected that second case. I would have expected that Victor is correct in his supposition that that the Dominion is weakening the Alpha Quadrant powers so that it can later come in and take over, and that had they done so, the Dominion War would have happened later than it did. The overall losses would have been significantly greater. But you do also make a good point, Mike, that the Dominion is organized around the changelings, the founders protecting themselves, and that as such, they would probably be a bit cautious about going to war. But on the other hand, yeah, shoot, I suppose I'm not really questioning you at this point. I suppose I'm just trying to think
Run
aloud.
over there, Victor. So while he is doing that, I will just expand a little bit just to fill some time with, consider the Cardassians were the biggest threat to the Dominion at first because they wanted the Bajoran wormhole back, and the Federation was all that was stopping them. And as they sent, and I have a grander theory that I certainly, I picked a piece of the grander theory to present today because I didn't want it to take forever.
Right.
But essentially, the first several species to come in through the wormhole to the Alpha Quadrant were being monitored or directed by the Dominion in some sense. So I think the Cardassians were the first threat that the Dominion had. And then I think that by destabilizing them, and I think the infiltrators were already there by the time the episode Jem'Hadar happens. Those infiltrators were in position and ready to act, and didn't, because there was such little activity through the wormhole, how would they have gotten through afterwards without being detected? Because it was detectable, even a cloaked ship, when the wormhole opened. So anyway, Victor's back, and we can move forward.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
That's all right. That's all right. Yeah, that's certainly plausible. All right, I'll come back to this. Victor.
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
So, all right. Mike has already asked a number of questions that I would have thought of about. But yeah, perhaps the biggest one that I'm still not really understanding. So the Borg are clearly aware of the concept of individuality well before the events of Iborg. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't have made Picard a speaker for the collective.
That tracks.
So yeah, they're assimilating. Their purpose in assimilating him was twofold. One was to get the knowledge of Starfleet tactics, command codes, what have you.
Correct.
To more easily mow down any resistance. And two, to speak for the collective, to essentially say that, hey, I used to be one of you, but now I'm with these guys. Get on the program with me. So they're clearly aware of individuality through all of this. I'm still not sure how the Borg would have become aware of Lore's intervention.
Or care.
Yeah, yeah. Indeed.
Well, if I may, I say to Mike's question, fuck you. They would care because they lost a whole bunch of drones and potentially an entire cube, so they would care. They don't want to just lose cubes, right? So, if I may, I'll go to Memory Alpha right now, and I will see the. I was just there. I looked up Borg to see how many appearances they had prior to First Contact, because the last time we see them was in TNG is season 7, episode 1, Descent Part 2.
Part 2, yes.
That's the last time we see the Borg. Now then, if we scroll down here to appearances and show all, yeah, the next time we see them is First Contact. Okay.
Yep.
I think because the Borg show up in the Voyager, our first season of Voyager episode Blood Fever, which aired February 5th, 1997.
Which was after First Contact.
Episode.
First Contact was
late 1996. Yeah.
Yes. Well, any number of things could have happened.
Yeah, like they could have assimilated a dozen other species that
Exactly.
one of which could have had information.
And there were transwarp nodes in that area, so it is reasonable to assume that the Borg eventually would have come back to that area if they had a transwarp node there to make sure it wasn't being misused by other species. I mean, that's one reason. Well, if they had sensors that tell them that, then they would also have sensors that showed them that Borg were still active. And they would want to know why. I submit that the reason they went to go check it out is because that they saw Lore's badass big Borg ship using their transwarp gates instead of going like, whoa, who's using our transwarp gates? Well, we thought we shut that area down. So they needed to come back to check it out. And that's when they discovered the events that transpired.
I mean, it's at least a plausible reason as to why they would investigate.
Plausible. Yeah.
I'd say it's closer to Kim possible.
Okay. I had another question.
Well, if I may say for the record that Todd Stashwick, our beloved Captain Shaw, played the villain in the Kim Possible movie, which is one of the worst movies ever made. It has like a 2-point-something rating on IMDb. Just throwing that out there.
Okay, good to know. I had no idea. As long as we're talking Todd Stashwick, that trivia. He originally joined the that Trek family in Enterprise.
Yes, that is true.
Anyway, back to the fan theory. So, Victor, another question for you. This has more to do with what you were saying about how you would have rewritten First Contact.
Correct.
Than about Lore prompting the creation of the Borg Queen. So you said you would have made Lore the Borg leader once again in First Contact.
That is simply me saying that yes, that's what I would have done. Yes, that's simply me saying that's how I would have done it if I was in charge. Yeah.
I mean, we still could have Allison Creed if they had somehow gotten a hold of Lal.
That's an interesting thought. But back to your idea of rewriting First Contact so that Lore is leading that group of Borg. How would he have come back to life? He was disassembled, or at the very least, presumably, he was disassembled after the events of Descent Part 2. Yeah, Data says that Lore's been deactivated. He must be disassembled.
Well,
and then presumably given to Daystrom.
Hey, he's asking me. He's asking me. Thank you very much. If I may, Your Honor, Star Trek fucking loves to bring back Soongs. There are so many goddamn Soongs. It's like, take your pick. Like, we get Brent Spiner all over the place. So it could have been any number
more
of
characters than anyone else in the series.
There's
I think Vaughn Armstrong has the record.
That may be true, but yes. But there seems to be a new Soong every season of Picard. So, and then again in season 3. We see Lore himself return. So Lore wasn't completely killed in that.
No, but he was at Daystrom.
Well.
All right. So your supposition is the Enterprise crew disassembled him. They gave his disassembled body to Daystrom. Some experimenter there got careless and reassembled him. He escaped.
Sure. There you go.
All right, I'll accept that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Taking a picture of us?
Yeah, so sorry, trying to log into my account here. Sorry. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, I mean, if you were taking a picture of us, then I would have enjoyed the opportunity to raise my hammer gavel.
Yeah, we gotta upgrade your gavel.
Yeah.
Get you one of those
no, if I'd really been in character, I would have gotten one of those Klingon judge gloves.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, with the
metal
steel ball that's
spark for no reason.
Exactly. All right. I believe I'm done asking questions, voicing my own ways to amend the theories.
So, before you render your judgment,
Yes.
the outline here does say that we each can make a final statement, and if I may suggest, just in the interest of brevity, that we do this Twitter X Twix style and keep it down to 240 characters or less. Just summarize our argument in one brief Twitter post.
I think it's easier to limit us to 1 minute or 2 minutes of time because I'm not counting how many words I use.
Your call, Your Honor.
Yeah, it does seem like time is easier to keep track of. But yes, you may both make brief closing statements.
Okay, if I may request that you keep track, because when Tiger Mike's high, he tends to ramble on the fuck off.
I've never once done that. Prove. I would like
we have it on video.
Where
All right, I'll make sure to cut you guys off if you take too long.
Okay, well, I'll do the gentleman thing and let Tiger Mike go first.
Well, I was going to give you the honors, seeing how I started.
No, I insist.
Oh, wonderful. Somebody wants the last word. What if I told you that a lot of the people who died in the Dominion War could still be alive? Well, I think that's very true today if it wasn't for one Benjamin Lafayette Sisko, who in himself was a wonderful captain and commander. But I think it's been proven time and time again that he is willing to start a fight before it is necessary to start a fight. And when you go up against a group of people who are protecting themselves and start a fight, well, you better bet that they're going to try to finish it. So I think that I praise the prophets and I appreciate what they're doing, but it sure cost a lot of lives just to lock those Pares away. And I rest my case.
All right. Excellent. Yeah, thank you for keeping it brief. Victor, the floor is yours.
All right. Instead of reinforcing my case, I would like to attack Mike's.
That is not how.
I have the floor. Sorry. Okay. I have
because you got no legs to stand on.
Hey, my clock is ticking. Me. My clock is ticking. So,
your clock is ticking.
Would the Dominion War have happened without Benjamin Sisko? Possibly. Not happened without Benjamin Sisko, possibly. But the galaxy, the universe itself, is better off with Benjamin Sisko, because this is a man who...
That wasn't my argument.
Hey, I have the floor.
Wasn't my argument.
This is a man who outwitted Romulans. He is responsible for the assassination of Senator Breenac and duping them into joining the Dominion War. Benjamin Sisko hustled the Ferengi. He hustled the Grand Nagus into giving him his staff. This man hustles Ferengi. This man intimidates Klingons. Worf himself said that he is intimidated by Benjamin Sisko, and as we all know, Ben Sisko punched Q in the face. The galaxy itself is better off with Benjamin Sisko than without.
Was goaded to punching him.
I rest my case.
All right. It's the judgment of this court that Tiger Mike that made that better case for a fan theory.
Yeah, I knew it.
Gorilla Mike!
Why are you a Wookiee now? Well, you're Wookiee Mike?
Yeah, right now
he's ascended. His victory made him level up.
I'm a tiger-striped Wookiee.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, Your Honor. I appreciated the chance to spit my ridiculousness out into the void and have someone hear my fan theory at least.
Yeah,
I appreciate you upholding sanity.
Attempting to. Yeah, I do personally think that there's just as good a chance that the Dominion was softening up the Alpha Quadrant for conquest by sowing chaos than it was just preventing the Alpha Quadrant powers from invading the Dominion. But yeah, I think you can make the case either way. And yeah, completely irrespective of that, I think you did make a pretty fair and well-reasoned argument that if Sisko had been removed from the timeline, the Dominion War as we know it wouldn't have taken place. But
Thank you, Your Honor.
I do think that there's a distinct possibility that if the changeling infiltrators had caused enough chaos, for example, if they had been the cause of the war, which in Q's All Good Things timeline resulted in the Klingons conquering the Romulans,
Right.
then yeah, a full-scale war between the Dominion and the Alpha Quadrant would simply have taken place much later.
Thank you.
And
I will
B,
take my victory.
and
the
B,
W.
there's a solid chance that far more people would have died during the chaotic build-up to this, and then during the delayed war itself.
Tell that to the people at AR 558.
Well, yeah. A lot of people still died. A lot of people still got fucked up.
I just forgot to throw that in there earlier, so I had to.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
I'll reiterate. Yeah, I'll reiterate that Tiger Mike, you made the better case for your fan theory. That DMT
Well
Victor,
played.
on the other hand, you made a very plausible amendment.
Plausible is all I can. Plausible
love that.
is synonymous with win in my world. In my world, so plausible. That sounds like I'm right. Thank you.
Did you say Kai Win, one of the Pa Wraith worshippers? That's pretty evil, DMT Victor.
Hey, I never claimed that I wasn't. Well, thank you for your
Okay, debate adjourned.
time. Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us all at the first theory battle. I'm sure we will see you again soon. And we're going to get some red threads for our judges going here so we can get some true Q representation here, because got to have
let me
some
get a-
Q.
Let me
But
get a screenshot of this.
on behalf of DMT Victor and Sven and me, Tiger Mike, I say have a wonderful day.
Live long and
Peace.
prosper.